Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I just finished a weekend full of baseball. My youngest son had one game on Saturday. My older son had 4 games on Sunday. Now, they don't even do more than 2 games in a day in the major leagues, but this travel ball thing, which is ridiculous in my opinion, they make these kids play as many as 3 or 4 games in one day sometimes. It is I can't stand it, but to be competitive, you have to be seen doing this stuff, unfortunately. But anyway, my son did really well. I was proud of it. Okay, moving along. Now the other day I did a video on BNY Mellon, okay, and how I believe BNY Mellon in conjunction with the Treasury during and after the financial crisis got together and said, look, this can't happen again. We've got to, I think that digital, like the Fed said, digital currencies they've been working with digital currencies for over 2 decades. But I believe that the financial crisis was when they all said, all right, no, this time we've got to get something done on this. I believe Ripple and XRP are a very specific part of that. Now, this is where we are today, and I believe that the U.S. government, in conjunction with the IMF and governments around the world, have been planning for this day. Today, the markets, the Dow futures are down like almost 1,300 points today. We know the stock market's been falling apart. It says here, this is from CNBC, the market has triggered a circuit breaker that keeps stocks from falling through the floor. Here's what you need to know. And this is from what I showed you. This is the Bank of Mellon, BNY Mellon. This is their Wikipedia page. And this is what I showed you the other day, where back in 2008, BNY Mellon was the master custodian for TARP when they did the bailouts. And it says in here that BNY Mellon and I think 2 other banks were the only banks in the United States that were not that passed the stress test and were not considered systemic to be about to go down, systemically threatened or whatever. So, when you hear systemically, let me see if that's the word they used. If you go down, yeah. Right here, by 2013, the company's capital had steadily risen from the financial crisis in the results of the Federal Reserve's Dodd-Frank stress test in 2013. The bank was least affected by hypothetically extreme economic scenarios among bank tests. It was also a top performer in the same test. And so anyway, these were considered, this bank was one of a handful that were considered banks that were not, here it is right here. Actually, I missed it. According to the results of the February 2009 stress test conducted by the federal regulators, the BNY Mellon was one of only 3 banks that could withstand a worsening economic situation. And so the Treasury trusted BNY Mellon to be the custodian, and what I'm saying is I believe that they got with BNY Mellon as well as the other powerful banks, probably the strongest banks, and they said, okay, we got to solve this liquidity issue. And I believe Ripple and all that was already in motion, but I believe that at somewhere in this time frame, that's when it all happened. Okay. Or when what had been in the works for 2 decades really got put in motion. But today, I want to show you that you're going to get a good lesson in how the powerful people think. Now, remember, for the last 2 or 3 years, all we've heard from the powerful people is they hate Bitcoin. There's nothing to Bitcoin. All these financial people, all these major financial people, but they don't talk about Ripple or XRP. We know that. Well, if you're some of these people, and I'm about to show them to you, and you're going to invest in companies that are behind all of this, do you really have to invest directly in XRP or even bring it up? Would you bring it up? You would not, especially if you knew that all this was being laid to get to, because the day that it has arrived in the stock markets has arrived. Because remember, in the financial crisis, the problem was liquidity. What have we heard out of Ripple over and over and over is liquidity, solving a liquidity problem, getting the liquidity of a fiat currency from Miguel Baez into XRP. So here we go. My father, after he saw this video on the BNY Mellon, he asked me, he said, well, now what you need to do is you need to find out who owns BNY Mellon. So here we go. So this should all become crystal clear to you that the most important companies in the world, they're all in the same boat together. And they are the ones who have been investing in all of the companies that are going to benefit from the XRP utility. Watch this. Here we go. First, before I go there, I want you to understand one thing. The last line, we talked about Matthew Mellon. Remember, Matthew Mellon bought all kinds of XRP, and it just happened to be around the time that all this stuff with BNY Mellon was happening with Ripple and the articles. They started talking about Ripple in 2016. In 2018, you're seeing articles about how this guy had bought all this XRP. But I wanted to show you the last line of this article right here. I think it's the last line. The first thing is that Mellon graduated from University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School. That's the same school that Donald Trump went to. It's also the same school that one or both of Donald Trump's sons went to, or I think he's got 3 sons. But anyway, I know someone who went to school with Donald Jr. at Wharton. And so, anyway, but moving along. So that's a Trump school. But anyway, if you keep going down and you get to here, I went around, let's see, no, keep going. I think it's at the very, very end of this article. Maybe not. Anyway, in here, and I'll get to it, but in here, in one section on this, he talks about how he went and met with Donald Trump. It was a longer article than I thought. Here we go. So he reportedly spent a lot of time with Kik Kennedy, daughter of Robert F. Kennedy. In late March, Mellon told Forbes reporter he dined with President Donald Trump. I shared with him that he should become blockchain friendly if he wants the next millennial vote. Mellon told Forbes in late March. So this guy specifically sat down and talked to Donald Trump about cryptocurrency. He was one of the largest holders of XRP and had made all this money. Do you think he talked to Donald Trump about XRP? I would bet you that he did. All right, but I just wanted to show you that as a side note. Now, let's go into who owns Mellon. Well, Berkshire Hathaway should look familiar to you because Berkshire Hathaway that's Warren Buffett, right? Now, everyone in this space for the last 2 or 3 years has thought, oh, screw Warren Buffett. He's against crypto and all this, and he comes out against Bitcoin and all these different things. And I got sucked into that myself. But guess what? I believe Warren Buffett has known about Ripple and XRP all along because I believe that he is part of this, whatever you want to call it, a cabal of banks and powerful people that are invested in all of these. Well, first of all, he's invested in Mellon. He knows Mellon's the one getting this done. Well, this is Berkshire Hathaway, and it's run more or less by Warren Buffett. Listen to what Warren Buffett said in May 5th, 2018.
About 5 years ago, we asked Charlie Munger, we were sitting right there, what he thought of Bitcoin, and he said rat poison. Yeah. Back then it was about $100+ per Bitcoin. Today it's 9,000. Is it still rat poison?
Well, probably rat poison squared.
Okay, so back when I first saw this, I thought, well, he's talking about all of cryptocurrency, and I wasn't really aware of what was really going on behind the scenes. I am now enlightened. I'm aware of what's been going on behind the scenes. I believe that Ripple and XRP I believe that this has all been run by some of the most powerful people in the world, all the way up to the top of the federal government and to the top of the IMF and everything else. I believe this is a well-laid plan. I believe these guys have always known about it, and that's why you never hear them talk about Ripple and XRP unless they're asked, and then they get away from it as soon as possible. But this is Warren Buffett, and this is also something I wanted to show you. This, now remember, I went and I found several Rachel Lee tweets because I believe this is one of those people on Twitter who was around in, I think, 18 and 19 and then disappeared. We have at least 2 or 3 or 4 people on Twitter that were saying things that almost have made them appear like they either had sources or were somebody at Ripple, and all of them to a man seem to have just disappeared. Now, Rachel Lee was one of them, and I've said before on this channel, back when they were talking about all this, I was one of those people who was listening to it going, man, are they talking about this being really a world reserve currency? But then it took me a year or two to really get something that has never happened, something that big that has never happened is a very tough thing to get your mind around and to accept. I now accept it. I now believe it. And I don't just believe it, I believe it's 2020. But she said this back on June 6, 2019, she's talking about the Tron founder. This guy wants to go shill Tron and cryptos to Warren Buffett. Meanwhile, Warren Buffett is already invested in banks and payments who will carry the XRP banner forward. Buffett is not a stupid man. And she's right. He's not a stupid, he or she. I'll say that about Rachel Lee. Now, Berkshire Hathaway was one of the investors in BNY Mellon. And then you got the Vanguard Group. Now, the guys over at SPQR Media had done a video tying the Vanguard Group to a lot of these things. They have recently taken down all of their videos for some reasons, where I would point you to their Vanguard video to go watch because they did a great job on it. I wanted to point to basically these 4 here. Berkshire Hathaway, the Vanguard Group, SSGA Funds Management, BlackRock Fund Advisors, okay? Because these 4 keep popping up everywhere. And I think that they are right there. These are the people that run the world. Well, let's look at this one next. SSGA Funds Management. What is that? That doesn't sound familiar, does it? Well, it might now. SSGA is State Street Global Advisors, which is a division of State Street Corporation. And you'll remember who State Street is. State Street is one of the top owners in SBI Holdings, which bought 10.5% of Ripple and is the largest outside shareholder of R3 in 2016. And some of the top shareholders are Bank of Mellon. Bank of Mellon owns, I think, around 7%. State Street is one of those too. So you see how all this lays out. Okay. And then this was from State Street. This is a video about State Street back in 2019. Watch this. Those guys they're one of the most important players in all of this. Then we have BlackRock. So if you remember, I took BlackRock's Larry Fink, who is their CEO. We tracked him all the way to the World Economic Forum. And then we found 2 people that are in the World Economic Forum that are directly tied to Ripple and XRP. And then we reminded you that the World Economic Forum, after Davos, put out a central banker digital currency toolkit. And there were 2 digital assets that they put in there to let the central bankers know these are going to be your 2 JP Morgan coin and XRP. These will be 2 intrabank digital assets. Okay? Larry Fink is on the board of directors at the World Economic Forum. This is BlackRock. It's a American Global Investment Management Corporation based in New York City. Okay? This is from Larry Fink. Same thing. These guys have told you all along, Bitcoin, just like I tell you now, Bitcoin is not the one. XRP has always been the one. Okay, this is Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, back in 2017.
Developed a view on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and what is BlackRock doing about them?
Well, I believe in blockchains. We're looking at many blockchains. We created provider Aladdin, which is really a blockchain between us and the clients.
But that's the underlying technology.
But it's a private blockchain, okay? But we believe we can create more and more flow through information by having all the different reference points of a transaction being systematized. That's good. Related to cryptocurrencies, I'm a big believer in the potential of what a cryptocurrency can do. You see huge opportunities in it, but what we're talking about today, it's really much more of a speculative. People are speculating on it, but most importantly, what I think about most of these cryptocurrencies, it just identifies how much money laundering there is being done in the world, how much people are trying to move currencies from one place to another. So I actually believe you're seeing the demand for it, but let's be clear, if we created a true global digital currency, I hate the word crypto, a digitized currency, then then you would not have money laundering anymore. You would have everything under.
Did you hear that? You would not have money laundering anymore. Remember, we've talked a lot about XRP, and we've talked a lot about how this is imminently trackable. For about 10 years, when the governments and these powerful people talked about it, they tried to present it in such a, oh, this is just for money laundering. And now in this clip, he's telling you, you wouldn't have money laundering if you had this, because that's what it was designed. This was designed. Remember the guy from the BIS in that video I did a week or so ago? He said this was designed by the governments. And the reason it was designed by the governments is because it's imminently trackable. If they force everyone into this digital asset system, nobody will be able to launder money anymore because it'll be imminently trackable. That's why they've done this. And that's why I know when you hear XRP as a global reserve currency, that sounds crazy on the surface. But they would need something to be the chosen one for this purpose. It's not Bitcoin, it's XRP. Listen to what else he says.
Understood. Everything would be flowing through. Everything would be identified. You could see all the application.
He just said everything would be flowing through. In other words, folks, all the money, not some of the money, all of the money.
Except I'm horrified on one point. How do we preserve the system from cyber problems? Because if the whole world is
And this, he just answered for you. Why is it taking so long? Why do you feel like, oh, the market's down to 20 cents and, oh, XRP, the price is down and all? Remember, the price is a distraction. When this thing is ready to go off, folks, we're looking at a totally different ball game. And I'm going to show you where this ball game could be going too. But he's telling you, this is the reason they had to take so much time, maybe 2 decades, like the Federal Reserve Chairman said. This is the reason they had to take so much time and let this thing play out and make sure that all of the tracks were laid. Who's been laying tracks? Ripple. For years, since 2012, laying tracks.
Using this one network for financial transaction, it presents a lot of systemic risk.
Is it time yet for BlackRock to either trade in digital assets or digital virtual currencies, if you prefer, or to create a product for your clients?
We're not hearing any demand from any of our clients other than maybe some speculative stuff. We're being asked that question, but it's more of like a venture capital type of interchange. But we're not hearing clients saying we want to use this as an asset.
See, it's because they're not going to be using it like that. Buying XRP for you and I, these guys aren't stupid. They know that most of the people that are listening to my voice will be out by $20. And these guys are investing in companies which in turn own XRP. These guys are masters of the universe. This is how they would do it. All right. So let's keep going. Let's see who owns BlackRock. Well, PNC Bank is the largest owner in BlackRock. Who was the first company to use to go live on RippleNet? PNC Bank. Who owns PNC Bank? BNY Mellon. This is making sense. Then we've got the Vanguard Group. They're involved here too. Let's see. There's SSGA Funds is a large owner in BlackRock, and they are owned by State Street. And then you've also, JP Morgan's a major owner. Morgan Stanley's a major owner. Now let's go to the next one. Top 10 owners of Goldman Sachs, the Vanguard Group. SSGA Funds owned by State Street. BlackRock Fund Investors. Oh, there's Berkshire Hathaway. Okay. The same Berkshire Hathaway who's the largest owner in BNY Mellon. And if you go, these folks, they all tie together. Then you go to this, top 10 owners of Vanguard Corp. BlackRock Fund, the Vanguard Group, T. Rowe Price, there's State Street again. You just can't make this stuff up, folks. They're all in the game. Let's finally look at JP Morgan. Who are the top 10 owners of JP Morgan? The Vanguard Group, there's State Street again. BlackRock, Berkshire Hathaway, Fidelity has jumped onto the scene. T. Rowe Price, I believe. And here's another one. Northern Trust. Who's Northern Trust? One of the largest custodians in the world. Who do they own a large part? They're one of the largest investors in SBI Holdings. All of these guys have known all along, folks. All right. Now, I wanted to go back. I told you, Rachel Lee was on the scene and disappeared. Rachel Lee said a lot of things that really did appear to come from someone that was, and she, if it's a she even referred to sources and things like this a lot in her tweets. I'm just going to take you through a few of the tweets that were tweeted back then. She has disappeared as of, I'm not sure when, but let's look back at some of these. And remember, folks, the theme here is they've been honest with us all along. Ripple has never lied to you. Ripple has been honest with you all along. They've said it every step of the way. Remember that XRP cannot be dirt cheap, and anything below $100 is considered dirt cheap in the financial world. Random people appearing suddenly to open up to the XRP community are only creating more problems and weak hands by pushing price uncertainty and doubt. David Schwartz, this is a David Schwartz tweet. It can't be dirt cheap. That doesn't make any sense. If XRP costs $1, they need a million XRP, which would cost $1 million. If XRP costs $1 million, they need one XRP, which would again cost $1 million. Except that higher prices make payments cheaper. Okay, right now you can buy $1 million house with Bitcoins. When Bitcoins were $300, it would move the market too much and be too expensive to be practical. So higher prices makes payments cheaper. This right here, folks, is why one of the many reasons that I'm saying I'm calling there's going to be a price set in XRP, and I think it happens this year. Okay, that's one of the many reasons. All right, then this from Rachel Lee. XRP is a 3 and later, a 4-digit coin. Anyone advising you to sell at $5 does not have your best interest at heart. Bob Way has knowledge pertaining to Ripple alone and is basing his advice on his limited information. R3 will take XRP to the moon and beyond. Don't sell your XRP for dirt. And she's highlighting this tweet. This is from, or this wasn't a tweet. It looks like it's from some other platform, from David Schwartz. He's giving these, I've shown you this before. He's giving you hypotheticals of what XRP could go to in different scenarios. He says $120 would be same point as above. You could justify a multiplier. You could add a multiplier to this for additional demand from people holding XRP to make or facilitate payments in the future. And then he just goes on. He lays all these things out. All right. And then from Rachel Lee. If you are paying attention to and stressing over XRP rising and falling a few cents, then you are doing it wrong. Don't think about how much you could have bought you waited for the lows. There's no guarantee to that. What is guaranteed is XRP being a 3 and 4 digit value asset. Look ahead. And then there's this. If you think only JP Morgan was calling crypto a scam while building their own secretly, think again, because there's a whole new global financial system being built in secret for years now by the IMF, BIS, central banks, etc. XRP will take the role the US dollar plays today. We are impatient and we want to see XRP get to $1,000 in the blink of an eye. XRP will easily glide to 3 and 4 digits when the world is ready to accept and fully implement the new global financial system. All efforts are being made to position XRP as a global reserve bridge asset. I 1,000% agree with this last line. All efforts are being made to position XRP as a global reserve bridge asset. And I believe all those powers that we just went through are a part of helping all this happen, and they've known about it for a long time. Next, it's not a matter of if and might, it's just a matter of when. They don't want to make it too obvious that XRP is their baby being set up to replace the US dollar as global reserve. They all play dumb at first about XRP and go with Bitcoin and Ethereum. This is mass deception. Game is up. Get on with it. And this is a tweet. Why NASDAQ's real-time crypto data portal might soon list Ripple. And this is an important point here because Ripple, the NASDAQ, this real-time data, crypto data, this is one of the core issues, folks. We are not seeing real price discovery in XRP, and I believe it's intentional. Everybody we've ever talked to says that nobody is getting a feed from SBI Virtual Currencies, which is owned by SBI Holdings, which is the largest outside shareholder of what? Ripple and R3. Okay, check this one out. The XRP you hold is gold. It will become the supranational currency which will be used by every bank, company, nation, etc. that needs to move money across borders. Plus other uses. No longer a single nation will control the world's reserve currency. The situation remains imminent. And this is from back January 25th, 2019. This is from an actual Ripple Insights article because I've looked it up before. We remain more committed than ever to the simple goal of making XRP the world's reserve digital currency. Who says that? Name me anyone from any company in the history of the world who comes out and says something like that, folks. I bet you can't, okay? Okay, and then finally, like I said, they've told you from day one, folks, Ripple has never lied. They have been very upfront about what the goal is. And this, I'm going to show you this again. This is from Mickey B. Fresh. This is Brad Garlinghouse. I think he was in South Korea or something.
They saw it as rather than having a smaller number with a very high price, they saw it as something they wanted to be effectively a global reserve currency. I think the opportunity.
And then finally, 2020, the year of the digital asset. I firmly believe it. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family that Ripple's goal is very simple goal. Making XRP the world's reserve digital currency. Who says that? Thanks for listening.